And that is a proxy for long-term success. So essentially think about us as we have a formula to be able to pick the winners in this space of those 3,800 brands. That's why family offices and investors are coming to us, is because there's so many brands out there. Where do they put their money? If they go into just one, they're not hedged. And a lot of these companies just have the same Me Too product, whereas our brands are known to work with that moat and that defensibility. And that means their exit value will go way up when we sell that portfolio.
From MJBulls Media, it's the Raising Cannabis Capital Show. Today on Raising Cannabis Capital, we are continuing this year's Cannabis Investor series with another former guest, David Metzler, the co-founder and CEO of the CBD Capital Group. David, welcome back to the show.
Good to be here again. Thanks for having me.
Well, a lot's changed since we spoke in May.
That happens during pandemics. A lot changes during those times. And luckily, we're still here and everyone's safe. And it sounds like the same thing on your listeners and your side, too.
Yeah, I think the whole world is moving forward, but it's certainly a different place than it was before. On today's show, I want to take a deeper dive into investing in CBD, which means I'm going to skim over a lot of the stuff that we previously talked about. So if you want to learn more about David, go back and listen to episode 218. David, since our last talk and people asked me about your company, the way I've described the CBD Capital Group is a cross between a cannabis investor and a cannabis company. And like an investor, you provide capital, and like a cannabis company, you have a business plan that goes way beyond just investing. For our listeners that missed last episode, can you briefly explain your business strategy?
Yeah, our business strategy is assemble the best and only proven companies in the CBD space and bring them together to help give them a liquidity co-op so that they win and then our investors win at the same time. And the key operating word in that sentence is proven, an ability to actually quantifiably know that they're the best.
Yeah. I know neither one of us are doctors, but there's just been so much information suggesting that CBD and other cannabinoids make you healthier. And therefore, they may help with COVID. We don't know this. Do you think that general perception has increased the demand for CBD?
Everyone right now is concerned about immunity, health, reducing inflammation. And in the middle of that, you also have what I would call in America an outbreak of anxiety that we've never seen before, that will have PTSD on a cultural level for America for multiple years to come. And so that anxiety is one of the top three reasons that people take CBD. They take it for anxiety, they take it for insomnia, and they take it for chronic pain and inflammation. And we know this through 2 medical outcome studies that we've done. That's what makes us unique, is we actually know which brands work against those conditions. So from my background, working with United Healthcare and other big health insurance companies like Aetna, we took a medical outcome study, apply it to these CBD companies before we invest and buy them. And they have to actually demonstrate that they can measurably increase the quality of life of their customers, their patients, before we buy them. That's what makes us fundamentally different, is all of our brands have passed the medical outcome study that shows that their clients, their customers, their patients actually feel an improvement statistically over a placebo effect.
Well, that's interesting. I don't remember if we spoke about that last time. I know last time when we spoke, you said another criteria that you put into place was that the companies that you invested in needed to have at least reached sales threshold of, I think it was $500,000. Are you seeing more companies meeting that sales threshold now?
I think more companies are profitable because the prices on the actual CBD commodity itself has come down. But no, the ability to cross the threshold, the chasm, and get to scale is harder and harder for companies. That's why my management team comes along. There's really 3 things that differentiate us. I talked to you about the outcomes and being proven products. But my management team, I'm honored to work with these guys. So my CMO, he built Bulletproof Coffee up to a 9-figure brand. My COO worked for Microsoft, before that Accenture and private equity. My legal team has done over $500 million of transactions. And we have branding guys on our team that actually help scale some of the biggest brands, you name it, up from Google across. So our team comes alongside these brands and helps them cross the chasm. and really scale at a faster rate than they could ever do on their own. And that's what we're here to do, is help them succeed.
I think a lot of investors that are out there that are interested in taking advantage of cannabis and the opportunities of cannabis find that information so comforting, to know that there's a team here that's helping your CBD portfolio companies get to the next level. There's a general idea, belief that, especially now that cannabis was deemed essential, that we're moving in that direction of federal legalization. But there are still so many family offices and institutional investors that are uncomfortable or can't invest in THC companies.
That's why we stayed on the federally legal CBD side of it. Exactly. You're always ahead of it. Right now, we're on the federally legal CBD only side because family offices can play in that and institutional investors can play there.
Walk our listeners through the big picture. Okay, now we've made a bunch of investments. We have a stable of really solid CBD companies that we've helped get to the next level. Now what?
Yeah, so we want to take these companies and put them together and give them all an exit that they couldn't get. And then what we're really building is a moat around our brands that are proven to work. So if you think about Warren Buffett, he only invests in companies where there's a defensibility to it. Similarly, what we're creating is a defensibility. There's 3,800 brands out there that we're tracking, 3,800 CBD brands out there. There's so many of them. It's so easy to start. What is hard to do is actually quantify that your brands work, and thereby people will keep buying those products month over month at that price point. So what we've come up with is uniquely a system that allows us to go in there in those 3,800 brands and tell you as an investor that these companies will succeed or not. And that's the only one that we know of that actually has this medical outcome study that can use to see efficacy of these brands. And that is a proxy for long-term success. So essentially think about us as we have a formula to be able to pick the winners in this space of those 3,800 brands. That's why family offices and investors are coming to us, is because there's so many brands out there. Where do they put their money? If they go into just one, they're not hedged. And a lot of these companies just have the same Me Too product, whereas our brands are known to work with that moat and that defensibility. And that means their exit value will go way up when we sell that portfolio.
Man, that's really helpful for investors to have somebody that with your expertise on that side of it, because let's face it, trying to one-off an investment into a CBD company with 3,800 companies, how do you know which ones are the good ones and which are the bad ones?
Don't do it. Like, honestly, don't invest in any startup company right now is my take, because there's too many already out there. There's going to be a fallout coming. Only the companies that are working, especially in a recession timeframe, people are not going to pay $100 a month for a product that doesn't help them relieve pain, anxiety, and insomnia in a measurable way. So we have a formula that lets us know if that is the case, and we can protect our investors because of that. That's why we've been successful in raising our rounds, and we're going into a Series A round where all these people are saying, hey, look, we don't want to go into one company. We want to go into you, invest into that, and help us out there. And then the only other add that I would say to that is, a lot of these companies, like, we've been lied to, we've been cheated, we've been all these things out there, and we protected our investors' money. So that's the hedges. We are all a lot of military guys formerly. And so we stand between our investors and these crazy kids and people in this space and make sure that our investors don't get defunded out of that. And that is something that is a responsibility that we take very seriously.
Well, especially in this environment, it just fosters bad actors. Because margins are tight. Like you said, 3,800 companies. If you're struggling, they may cut some corners, and you just don't want to be on the wrong side of that. Talking about your portfolio companies, how have they done with the pandemic?
I'll talk about one of them right now that we're really proud of. It's this Hawaiian brand, and we looked at a bunch of different products, and this one was the best tasting company. It's called Mana Botanics, and it's all ingredients out of Hawaii, so it's very unique. So if you think about anxiety right now as a massive issue, we all think about Hawaii as a relief to that. So think about that and think why we invested. What we were able to do is bring in a family office that owns a bunch of grocery chains. They are going to put it into all their Whole Foods equivalent. And in the course of a year, we're going to double the revenue of that company. And that's what we do as a management team is investors of that magnitude think about us as, hey, we can trust these guys to deliver for us. And that's what we're doing for one of our companies. E-commerce just as a whole has gone up, but as a lot of these brick and mortar companies, spas, like that companies in Four Seasons and others have been closed. So we've been able to manage to overcome the fact that a lot of the wholesale counts went down because of COVID and overcome that with e-commerce and then bring in additional distribution for that company. And we're really proud of the outcomes. We have a great relationship with the team and we've done what we said we we're going to do. And that's always good to look investors in the eye and say, we did it. We came in, we protected, and we not only protected, but we accelerated and scaled.
I'd say it's good for investors, but I'd really say it's good for the Hawaiian company. What was the name of that company again?
Monobotanics. It's just a great company, all local products that are sourced with vanilla to all the way to local turmeric. It's just awesome. It's a great product. Yeah. We're really proud of that investment and what we're doing there.
Well, I'd say those guys are probably pretty happy with the partnership. So if there's any other CBD companies out there that are looking for some growth funding or investors that want to talk about investing in CBD, we have all CBD Capital Group's links in the show notes and at mjbulls.com. So I know David would be happy to continue this conversation offline. David, always good to catch up. Thanks for being on the show.
Yeah, pleasure to be here. And yeah, we're happy to talk. We're very selective about who we let in from an investor and or a company perspective, but we're always open to partnering with the right people that can actually add value.